Hello, and welcome to our podcast. We are That Weird Family. I am paranormal author Rebecca Patrick Howard, and we will be joined by my 9-year-old son Sam, and occasionally by my 5-year-old daughter Iris. We are here to talk about ghosts, folklore, urban legends, unsolved mysteries and aliens, and all things paranormal. We are that family that stays up till 2 o'clock in the morning watching horror movies, who thinks that exploring abandoned houses is good old-fashioned entertainment and bonding experiences. My kids like cemeteries. We're probably not as strange as we used to be. It seems like a lot of people are into that. If you are too, then I hope you'll sit back and relax and let us entertain you for the next little bit. Last week, I went to Bobby Mackey's Music World on a haunted tour. It wasn't an actual paranormal investigation, but it was a tour of the haunted locations in the building. Sam did not get to go with me.
I didn't.
You know, I didn't let you go with me. One, it's like $50 per person. And we just did not have the money at the time. Also, I had heard so many legitimately scary things about it. I just wasn't sure that with you being down with mono, it was a good idea to have you in a place like that, because you're already sick and kind of weakened, and I just thought that, if there was a lot of activity, it might not attack you, but you'd be more susceptible to it. I didn't feel well either. As a matter of fact, I got sick, really sick on the way home. It wasn't what I was expecting. I feel disappointed, telling you that. But I don't know, I guess it's
You didn't go to heck.
I didn't go to heck. No, I didn't go to heck. I'd seen the episode on the more than one ghost hunting show, like Ghost Adventures, and
Ghost hunters?
I try not to go into these situations with a lot of expectations. I don't like going into them knowing much at all. And with that being said, I didn't realize that this was going to be a tour. It was kind of like how it was on the Queen Mary with you.
Yeah.
They walked us around and told us, this is where people have seen this, and this is where people have heard this.
And this is where someone broke their head on the diving board.
Wrong place, but right, yeah, that's what it was. I was expecting them to just kind of let us go in, and maybe they take us from one room to the other and we turn on our equipment and stuff. But we were on a 3-hour tour. Maybe the 5-hour tour let you do that. I don't know. Anyway, it wasn't exactly what I expected. And I try to go into these situations, not disbelieving, but also not thinking that every little sound is going to be a ghost trying to communicate with me. Ghost. Right.
Whee!
So it's not good. It's not good to do that, because then I think you overreact to things and you miss. I'm a paranormal author, and I also do paranormal investigations, but I also try to have a healthy dose of skepticism with these things too. I don't think that everything has a supernatural basis. If something happens, I'm not automatically going to say, oh, that was a ghost, or oh, that was a demon. I try to look for the simple logical explanation first, and if that doesn't work.
And you're super sensitive whenever a ghost is around.
I am
We might even have ghosts following us.
We might even have ghosts following us, yeah. I am sensitive, and that's another thing that confuses me about what happened last week, because I just don't think I saw or felt anything. When we entered the building, it was just a bar. The lights were out. It's not run down at all. Like, it's just a regular old bar. Like, the building is really old. I did have my ghost hunting app with me, which is just a free app from Google Play.
That works.
It works. It really does. A lot of it can be chalked up to coincidence, but we've had so many things that can't be. And I think that this was a good example. This experience was a good example of how well it does work.
You can go and watch the video on, I think, YouTube whenever you went to Bobby Mackey's.
Yeah, you can, if you go to YouTube and you watch the video, you can see some of this as it happens. But I'm also going to tell you about a few things.
Which YouTube channel is it?
It's mine. It's the Rebecca Patrick Howard
Oh.
channel. So the first room we went into was like the former kitchen, and it was the back of the bar. There were some tables and stuff. So the woman is talking to us, and she starts talking about how sometimes there's a fog in the room, and she keeps saying fog, 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 and then my thing went off, and the word...
New drinking game.
No, she only said it a few times. The word came up, mist, and she was standing there talking about fog, and that was weird. Oh, the first thing that happened is I turned it on, we walked into the room, and it goes, hey. So, cool, hello.
Boy.
We said hey back, and then
You're
she's
talking
like,
to some demons.
I don't think I didn't get demonic feeling. Like, it could I think whatever was there could communicate. But again, hey, hello, that's a pretty generic word, right? But when she started saying fog, 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 and it said mist, I thought, and I did not have internet the whole time I was there. So this wasn't hooked up, and there's no voice recognition or voice activation software in this program at all. Believe me, I've checked. Because I want it to be like as accurate and realistic as possible. So the next room we went into was the ballroom, or like the main ballroom where the stage, the dance room, where the stage and everything is. And the other lady who was with us had a spirit box, and it's that thing you turn on and you hear like, all that weird noise and stuff. Angelina, who is my friend with me, said it just sounded like somebody was turning the dial on a CB radio. And you said you heard music when you listened to it. I did too.
I heard da 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 da.
You actually heard like a tune. I also heard music, but the frequencies are so weird that I think it could just be picking up on radio waves that are not supernatural.
Yeah.
My app just started saying a bunch of names. It said Chloe, Carson, Murphy, like stuff like that. But another thing it said was poison.
Getting decapitated.
Oh, I want to tell that later.
Okay.
It said poison. And right after, I didn't tell anybody that, I showed it to Angelina. I said, look, poison. And about 2 minutes later, the guide started telling a story about how a woman who was like the daughter or relative of a mob boss fell in love with a man, and her dad didn't like it, so he had him poisoned, and that's one of the and then she killed herself, and that's one of the ghosts who haunts the building.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, that's crazy, right? So other people were saying they could feel the floor vibrating, that they had this feeling of heaviness, that they were feeling all these things. I didn't feel any of that. They said when the floor did vibrate at one point, but that was just Angelina like shifting from one hip to the other, because I had her recreate it, and that's exactly what I felt. So I don't believe that was real. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Then we went on in another room. A woman took a picture of the bar. When she brought her camera back, you could see like this mist. And that's also in the YouTube video, because I got a shot of that. I stood in the same place like 5 seconds later and took a picture. I didn't get anything. I got ship. I got ship. Which I guess can happen, but again, that could just be reflection of dust or a problem with the camera. It was really dark in there, so it was really hard to take pictures.
Sometimes it's like if a mirror, or maybe it was just dry ice, possibly.
Or
but
something.
It made a circle.
It did make a circle. Yeah, I mean, it's a weird picture, no doubt. I know. Um, we it said something, a few words. My app said a few words to me. It said "hear me" and everything, but I didn't really pick up on anything in there. When we started up the stairs, I stopped for a minute and took a picture of the bar, and I was kind of down there by myself, and my app just started going crazy, like giving me those red bars, as it does, and it said "see" and "look." So I stood there and I watched and waited and stuff, and I said, "Okay, I'm looking," and it still just kept going nuts, but nothing happened.
Yeah.
And then it said, "All right." I guess it gave up on me. I was like, all right, go on, go on. When we started up the stairs, some of the other people with us said that they heard something upstairs walking around. But I was videotaping at the time and I didn't hear anything. I didn't pick up on my camera either. So we got up there, and that was Carl's former apartment. Carl was a former bar manager there. He claimed that the place was haunted. He even claimed to be possessed. So, we...
What did you do to make him think he was possessed?
I guess he was just acting crazy. You know what? His exorcism video is on YouTube, and he was like, the exorcism was done right there in the bar.
Huh?
Yeah.
Go and check that video out in the description below. Just joking. There's no description.
There's no, but you should look at it, right?
Ooh, sure.
Yeah, we should
And
watch
we
it.
also need to look at the file on the Legend of Zelda, and it's called Been Drowned.
Okay, we'll do that next.
And then we can watch that too.
Then we can watch The Exorcism. So while we were up there, another weird thing happened, though. The guide was talking and telling the story about how Carl's ghost still haunts the place and stuff. And that's when my app goes, decapitated. And
There was a girl and her head got chopped off.
Right. I asked the guide, too. I said, was anybody decapitated? And she stopped, and she looked at me really weird, and she said, well, yeah, there was a woman, she was pregnant, and the story, it's not funny, but my friend Angelina's reaction to it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So this woman was pregnant, she was killed, her body was found, like, in a field 2 miles from the bar.
And her head wasn't with her body.
Yeah, her head wasn't with her body, and supposedly the head was tossed into the drain or the well that's in the basement.
Which is also the gateway to heck.
Yeah, which is supposedly the gateway to hell.
Hey, it's kind of like the horseless headsman whenever they threw his head somewhere different whenever his body was somewhere else.
Yeah, kind of like that story. Although this story was real. In fact, she was pregnant and the baby had been cut out of her body. Well, I know. It's a terrible story to tell you.
Now my stomach's feeling weird.
I'm sorry. Well, let me tell you what Angelina said.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. So they told us that the farmer whose field the body and stuff was found in, he took the baby and he put it in one of those jars with like fluid that'll keep things fresh, and took it on a tour around, this was in the 1800s, took it on a tour around the United States because people were so like obsessed with the macabre, like they still are. So our guide is telling us this story, and like everybody else is going, oh my gosh, the poor woman, and what happened to the men, and like the men still were, one of the men was hung, and he still haunts the place and stuff. When all this is said and done with, Angelina raises her hand and goes, so what happened to the jar with the fetus? Can we like see it? Is it around here? Can we look at it? And that's what she wanted to know.
Yeah.
She wanted to know what happened to the jar with the baby. She's like, I'm really... So we get down to the basement, and she gets out her phone, and she's like typing on it. And I swear I thought she was on Facebook or something, and I look over her shoulder, and no, she was Googling, like, what happened to the baby. She's really into that stuff. Like, her mind's a little twisted.
Twisted and turned.
So we leave, we go outside, we step outside, and my app said gallows. And I go, it was... No, I'm sorry, my app said hung. And I go, does hanging mean anything?
It was a place where they hung people
Right.
in gallows.
It was a gallows. Yeah, so that was weird. The basement is probably where I felt the most activity, and I didn't feel anything, but I did feel kind of jittery and this heaviness in my chest. As soon as we walked into the basement, though, to the
All
right,
the walls looked like they were.
I'm not to that part yet.
Hmm.
I'm trying to do this in order of the things that happened. So when we walked into the basement, we heard something immediately in the small room to my right. And I mean, I heard it. I mean, it was really loud, and I walked right up because there was a window. It used to be the outside of the building. So I walked right up to the window and took a picture. That's the room where the gateway to hell is. So it was weird that we heard something in that room right away, and we all heard that. We went in there, we took some pictures, and nothing. But then we went in this other room that had this tiny room attached to it, and there was a chair in there. And the guide waited till we were in there and then turned off the light. And she said, and my thing came up and said tortured. And that really freaked the guide out, you know. And she said, supposedly in that room, back when the place was ran by the mafia, they would take people in there and lock them in there and torture them.
Mm.
So I stood in there, and it definitely didn't make me feel good because I don't like small, tight places. But another woman went in there and almost cried. She said she felt like a really strong emotions in that room. The last room we went in was called the Room of Faces, and that's the one you were talking about.
Yeah,
Do you remember anything about it?
faces. There was a teddy bear.
Well, yeah, there's on the wall, there's like, you know, moisture and stuff, and it's chipped away at the concrete, and it looks like faces that are carved into the wall. And there were at least 5 or 6. And again, if you go to YouTube, you can watch the video of that, but I'm also showing them right now as I'm speaking. If you're listening to this on YouTube, you can see these pictures. One did look like a teddy bear. There was some demonic looking eyes. One looked a little bit like Santa Claus.
Ho ho
That was my favorite room.
ho.
Like, that was my favorite part of the tour. And what was kind of creepy about that room is there were all these toys because apparently,
There were kids.
yeah,
Kids.
spirits of kids in there, of children. She kept saying children's spirits. So they turned on the spirit box and they were asking it questions.
How are you supposed to hear? Like if they talk at all.
Well, it's because supposedly in the EVP thing, you know, the voices come out and you can hear it. I have a hard time hearing anything. That's why I like that app that gives me the words,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I'm not really into that. Like, that makes me a little uncomfortable asking questions. It always has. I know I'm a weird investigator, but I also am a little uncomfortable and shy. The word is shy and awkward. With groups of people. I would rather do things on my own. Angelina is the same way. So we walked over to the corner by ourselves, and I turned on my equipment, you know, and it immediately said, Tina. And I said, Tina, are you in here? My name's Rebecca. We're both mommies, too. You know, we like kids. If we just want, you know, you don't have to talk to us, but just wanted to let you know that we're here and wanted to say hello. That's when my machine just went nuts. You know how it does that flashing thing and the whole screen flashes? It did that, and it said kids.
Teeny kids.
And then it said stop pictures. That's what it said. Stop pictures. And I'm showing that right now on the YouTube video. Angelina took it out of my hand and said, Beck, let's just stop. Let's just leave. And I totally agreed with her because at that point I felt like it was disrespectful to continue. And I told the others what happened. And I got a little irked at that point because the guy didn't seem to care,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So Angelina put her hand on my shoulder and then physically led me from the room. And we didn't take any more pictures after that.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk to the spirits after that. I forgot to tell you. When we were in that room, too, the little one where people were locked in there,
Mm-hmm.
as she's talking, I suddenly start feeling like there's thousands of insects crawling all over me. I mean, I'm standing there and Ange, I feel things crawling on me, and we both look down. I mean, it was the weirdest feeling, and, you know, about a minute later, she starts telling us that sometimes people feel like they're being touched in that room, and I was. And I interrupted her, and I said, I'm feeling that right now. I feel like I'm being touched all over by insects. And she just kept on talking. Like, she wasn't interested in listening to my experience that I was having at that moment. She was only interested in reciting other people's past experiences. That annoyed me. And another thing that annoyed me is throughout the whole tour, my equipment had been totally accurate. You know, it had said things like poisoned, tortured, decapitated, hung, before any of those stories had even been told. But yet she was only interested in talking to the other women who had their spirit box and telling them, ooh, send me your voice files and send me your pictures for the website. She completely ignored me and Angelina. Just ignored us. Like, ours didn't matter because it was an app and not like fancy equipment, even though ours was the accurate ones.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. Matter of fact, I bitched about it all the way home. You know me.
Yeah, I do. That is it for this time, you people. Yeah.
That is what I've got, and in a few minutes you can listen to me and Angelina in the car ride home from, in a few minutes, well for you all it'll be in a few seconds, on the car ride home from our tour.
We really need to figure out our own theme song.
We do, we need a theme song. Let's get on that.
Okay.
So we just got back from Bobby Mackey's, which is supposed to be one of the most haunted places in the country. And I'm doing this podcast interview on the road, which is why you're going to get a lot of background noise, but this is about the only place that we can do it. So we're fresh off the tour. We've been out now for about 2.5 hours. We're still processing everything that happened. The tour consisted of a woman taking us around, showing us where, you know, the majority of the sightings have been seen, and telling us, you know, about the scratchings and bitings and noises and stuff that have gone on. We were allowed to bring our own instruments and do a little bit of ghost hunting on our own, but we weren't given free range of the club. We did stick together as a group the entire time, which made the experience a little different, you know, than what it could have been. Did you feel anything while you were there?
Nothing at all.
Nothing?
Not nothing.
Are you disappointed?
Not really disappointed, because I kind of, you know, I wanted to go see it anyway. I wanted to go see what it was like. I wanted to see the layout of it.
Was there at any point that you felt something weird, or, I mean, because I have to say, I didn't feel anything on the first floor. When we went down in the basement, I started, you know.
My chest got a little tight.
Yeah.
My chest did get a little tight. You know, I was looking around, and maybe I was looking too hard.
I wonder, I think maybe I was hoping to see something.
I was definitely hoping to see something.
I think maybe sometimes when that happens, like, you put almost too much importance on it, and then you don't see or hear anything at all. Now, the women who were with us, they did feel and hear quite a bit that Angelina and I did not. There's a point where we were going upstairs to the apartment where they heard a noise, and
They called it footsteps.
yeah, they called it footsteps.
There was no footsteps.
We did not hear the footsteps. I was videotaping at the time, and it didn't, whatever they heard did not pick up on my video camera. There was another time when we were in the bar that they were hearing things like back in the kitchen, but I didn't hear that either.
One seen she seen the shadow when we were sitting in the...
Yeah.
Oh, do you see that? It's at the corner of my eye. It's a shadow. I didn't see any shadows other than my own.
Do you think you're kind of skeptical about the whole thing?
No, because I do believe all that'll happen, but I don't know. I just really don't think it's as much as they really put into it. I think they put a little more into it than it is. Let me say that.
Because they've built up its reputation as a haunted place, and that's one of the big things that it has going for it.
It's really funny that the lady, the paranormal lady, had the little stick and was turning like different things on it. Probably had little knobs on it.
Angelina was suspicious of the of the EVP there. I don't know how I feel about EVPs, because a lot of times, people, you hear the static and then you hear the voices, and people say, oh, it said this or this or this, and I didn't hear that. Like, to me, it just sounded like Joe.
Sounded like a CB truck or like a trucker radio.
Yeah.
CB.
Yeah, it did. It did to me too.
Like the station was just out of tune a little bit.
It sounded almost like they have a CB radio and they're trying it out on different channels to see which one it'll pick up. How do you feel about, okay, now the place is supposed to be really haunted. How do you feel about the odds of something happening the night that we're there?
I really don't know. I just, I feel like if it was going to happen, it was going to happen. It didn't happen. I don't know if it really will happen. Like, the girl after us came in, she said she had done it last year and it was absolutely nothing happened.
Yeah.
They didn't hear nothing. She just the person kept wanting to shut the lights out and everything. You just tell them to listen, and then they kept trying to talk, to these entities and these, so, I don't know.
You weren't really into the talking to him.
No, I really wasn't. Because one, they will follow you home. I don't need them following me home. B, I think the way the other woman was talking to him, they are out there. The way that woman was talking to him, talking
down to
stupid.
You think
yes.
talking down to them?
Yes, definitely.
That bothered you.
Really
you mentioned that while we were on the tour. No, I get that. And that is the way that a lot of paranormal investigators do speak to the entities. I don't know how I feel about it either, because part of me thinks it's silly. Like, it makes me uncomfortable to talk in that manner.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm not an official investigator, but I feel like I've had just as many valid experiences without doing that.
Yeah.
Now, I had my ghost hunting app with me, and I really feel like I got just as much out of that as anybody else did with their official equipment. I mean, I'll give an example. We were down in the basement, and we were in a room that the wall of faces, I guess, or a room of faces, and there's supposed to be some children's spirits there, and they had the spirit box on, and they were talking, asking, come out, you want to talk to us, can you make this move or that move, things like that. And Angelina and I kind of walked over to a darker spot by ourselves, and while everybody else was talking amongst themselves, and we talked, and it responded, because I said, is anybody there? And it said Tina, and I said, Tina, are you there? Are you a little girl? I said, we're mommies, we like kids, and it came up and it said kid.
Yeah.
And that was very specific. And then I said something else, and the thing just went haywire and said, stop. It said stop. And right after stop, it said pictures. And Ange turned to me and was like, we need to go. Let's get out of here. She physically put her hands on my shoulders and led me out of the room. And, I mean, I think you do have to be respectful. It's just weird.
Very weird.
I didn't feel anything upstairs in that apartment. When they were saying that the floor was vibrating and stuff, that was me shifting from one hip to the other because my hip was hurting. It was.
Yeah, or the one girl, the leader coughed and coming over.
No, that guy's speeding up.
Or the leader coughed,
They've heard something.
Yeah.
Boy, when we were down in the basement and that machine turned on, the paranormal, the one in charge, she jumped about 10 feet.
Oh, yeah.
None of the rest of us did, but to be a leader of a paranormal investigation team, she was pretty jumpy.
She was jumpy.
She was.
And
She
was
jumped with
the pool table.
She jumped with the ice machine too. Now, one thing that bothers me about these stories is I really have a problem with them over exaggerating things and saying that one investigator was down in the basement and it threw her across the floor.
Oh, yeah.
I don't believe that.
No.
I honestly don't believe a spirit can do that. I don't think a ghost can bite or scratch you. If you're getting bitten and scratched, that's not a ghost.
That's a demon.
That's a demon, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, oh, the evil entity. But you're trying to provoke it.
Yeah, if there's an evil entity, why are you down there asking it to like play ball with you?
Right, tug my hair, it's okay.
No, it's not okay.
Not at all.
Yeah, tug my hair, it's okay if you tug my hair, it's okay if you touch my leg, or, I mean, to me that's just silly.
Yeah.
Like, I want to communicate, but I don't want to be physically manhandled by a spirit. I don't want to be manhandled by somebody who's alive, unless it's my husband.
At my grandma's house, listen, I have seen some stuff over there. Like when my grandma passed away, like there was just like this woman, and she was wearing like this whitish with like a blue kind of color to it, but it wasn't blue, but it had like a bluish tint or like a bluish glow around it, you know, like a baby blue.
Yeah.
And it was like this person, this woman just standing there. I don't even know if it was a woman. I don't really see its face. It was just sitting there, kind of like barely floating. I remember one time my grandma was sitting in the stand right in the hallway and just stare at you.
That's weird.
Like I would just freeze looking at it.
Well, what were you telling us about the nursing home? About what some of the patients?
They're like,
you talk a little louder.
When there's like somebody getting ready to die, you always know it because the residents will be like, that man was wearing all black sitting on the end of the bed over there, and the next day somebody will die. Like, I can get that story verified by so many people, and it's just about every time somebody dies, you see that man in all black, like the Grim Reaper coming through, like, kid you not, like coming through, and then that person will die the next day.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
I haven't seen it, but this woman, Shirley, she's seen it.
I've seen something similar. When I lived in the house on Westover, I was down in the basement, and I felt like somebody was watching me, and I turned around, and I mean, it was like this hunched back creature, and it was all in black, and it very slowly kind of glided across the floor. It scared me so bad, I wouldn't go back down in the basement for a really long time. It didn't look human. It didn't look like a person in a black dress. It looked like something that was inhuman. I'll never forget that. Well, I'm glad you went with me.
Yeah, it was great.
It was a lot of fun.
I think the ride there and back, though, was probably the best part of it.
I agree.
That was great.
Except when I almost passed out on you. I'm sorry. The rest of it was good.